The Jim and Terry Show is in the 500 series of podcasts.
And this week happens to be all about memories and going back, and if we can just keep our minds off of current affairs, which we can't, because there was one thing we didn't mention in the last one.
Go ahead.
We didn't mention the moon, going to the moon. We didn't mention SpaceX.
Oh, now, going to the moon, let's wrap it up with SpaceX. We'll wrap it in the X of SpaceX and say a large part of our interest. We've been dying for 4 years now, or is it longer than that?
Probably been that, which is nothing in space development and time-wise.
No.
I mean, nobody can knock SpaceX.
Makes a big difference for us as retirees, 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Will I live to see Elon Musk's SpaceX go to the moon, to Mars?
Well, we're definitely going to see it try to take off. You and me will witness that.
December, we're hoping.
Yeah. We're going to see it try to take off. Now, whether it's successful or not, because they're not pretending it's going to be. The way in which SpaceX operates, as you know.
Prototyping.
They prototype. So instead of waiting 10 years to see if something works, they'll send something up that they think has a possibility of working. When it doesn't, it's loaded down with all kinds of sensors to tell them what failed. Then they improve on
the next issue.
And even with their delay with the AF. They had to pass all that stuff for
the environmental
assessment. Even with that, they've had like 4 different spaceships made, modifying and changing. In that delay, they developed a whole new powerful engine. They swapped out the 33 other engines and put 33
Raptor
2.0s.
Yes.
And part of the problem is just testing, which isn't full throttle, just testing 7 Raptor engines blew the concrete into heated balls of fire that spread and caused fire, all those fires. That was not all of it. They're gonna be firing off 33 engines. Anyways, part of our shows, we've been watching this, and now
the evolution of SpaceX.
Yes, and in our year, the next year coming, I think we're going to see a number of ships launching and taking off. And
here's to it. Cheers to the first one in December. Clink.
Click.
That's one of the themes that we've been visiting in our 500 series of podcasts. The evolution of SpaceX Raptor 2.0s and redesigning the heat shields on those systems. And
well, by the way, we should celebrate the SLS, which took off.
Yes, it's on its way to the moon right now.
It's got to be at the moon now. I'm thinking. Okay. I don't know why there isn't more coverage. I really don't.
How many orbits of the moon is it?
I think
Artemis?
It's going to be for quite a few weeks.
Really?
I think it's going to be orbiting for weeks and then come back because it wants to get all this data and stuff that was lost when the space program was scrubbed back in the 70s or 80s, whenever it was scrubbed.
No, they don't need a satellite to go around the moon and surface track it anymore. So what's the purpose of multiple orbits?
I think it's just collecting data.
What kind of data do you get as you orbit?
I maybe taking photographs.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need a manned mission to do that. You can use a smaller probe. Why do you need to send Artemis?
Well, right now you could, but the Artemis is radiation. Like they got those mannequins in there.
Okay.
How is radiation going to affect them over a 40-day period or wherever length it's going to be? So things like that. I don't know all of it.
You're right. I didn't think about that. But Gateway, which is the key to Moon and Mars, Gateway, you're going to be in there. That's a space station now in orbit around the Moon, different than the position of ISS.
Yeah, it's going to be out there.
Okay. I give the point to Jim Sampson for arguing successfully that the need to have multiple orbits in order to assess, yes, the Gateway possibility.
But the thing that's interesting, which I want to mention is, I don't know if you're aware of it, the SLS that took off, which at this particular point is the most powerful rocket to ever leave Earth, blasted the crap out of a launch pad and everything. Okay?
So they're having problems too.
Oh, it tore the concussion, blew the doors off the elevators. All their elevators are destroyed in that tower. It's just a concussion of it.
I guess the astronauts will have to walk up.
Well, SpaceX is going to be twice as powerful.
Yeah, maybe they don't have elevators. I don't
Oh, they
know.
do. Oh,
okay.
they do.
Okay, let's go on to something else. This is our 500 series reflections on things that we've talked about. SpaceX is one of the big things. Trump was another big thing. Other things, we can't go on in our 500 series without talking about the current state of COVID. And RSV and flu. Have you had the flu?
I had my flu shot on Monday.
Good for you. Have you had the flu over the past 3 years?
I don't know. I got COVID.
Yes.
Briefly, and it wasn't too bad, but it was different. It felt different. But I got COVID, and thank goodness because I've had the shots. And I understand our multitude of audiences split on this, but I believe because I had the shots, I didn't end up in the hospital or die. And matter of fact, in the defense of those who listen to us, who
Here's a shout out to Bob and Gord. I think that's it. I don't know who else listens to.
who used to listen to us until they couldn't.
Okay.
They all don't have their shots, and they all got COVID. So, but they were fine. What can I tell you? So it's just here we are. We had to go through the COVID thing with the show, and I was forbidden to come here.
Yes, we had safety contingencies following the science that we knew. And that science said we should safely social distance at one point. Yeah. And so we did. In fact, we went out to the shed not to be in the house. So that was to keep whatever was around, which we didn't really understand and know, from impacting our families. We had masks on for one episode. When it got too cold in the shed and I don't have a heat supply, we came into the basement at the end of a big picnic table that I measured 6 feet with our masks, and we were isolated in the basement.
And then we determined it was getting so contagious and so out there that we decided we'd just do it by Skype.
Yes.
And that was fine. You know, I didn't see my girlfriend for months, eh? No. I didn't see her for months because of the I don't think I should come and see you.
She is a member of the vulnerable population to
I don't think
infection?
she's
No?
super vulnerable. It just at that particular time she was working.
Oh yeah,
still.
you didn't want to jeopardize that.
You know, and I know I have other friends that like, don't you dare give me anything. I need to work, and so we went through that, and it was an interesting time period to go through because. Like everything, it seems, in this world, there's such a divide. Mm-hmm. There are those who believe it's a conspiracy to wipe out humanity. There are those who believe the science and say, why would they want to wipe us out? There's other ways of doing it, you know, that they don't have to invent a whole new way. One of the ways would be, fine, the virus is out there, let it kill us. That would have been one way to just let it happen.
Approach.
Yeah, well, I mean, wouldn't that have worked a lot better?
That was argued by the Trump administration and a lot of other countries as well. I think Sweden went for herd immunity. They didn't isolate or anything, but the waves hit everybody. It didn't matter what your approach was.
Yeah.
Those people who fared better were those who tended to follow the science, as we did. I have been COVID-free. I've not had a cold, a headache, a flu, anything. For 4 years now. I don't think I've had the flu. I can't remember if I've had the flu. Part of the reason would be simply, and maybe it's a practice we should practice in this country when winter comes, mask up. I'm still not doing it. I admit it. I just don't think about it right now because it's like the governments have given up. They know that you should be masking, but they're not going to make it mandate. And we talked about this earlier before the show. I was a little concerned that the government's just basically going to say, washing their hands, let you die, just die, go die. Yep. And part of the problem with that is the innocent end up suffering a lot too. We have pediatric wards that are clogged, and there's a real increase in respiratory disease. So this is something that's come along. It's probably COVID. They don't want to say it, but it's probably COVID. But the population divided so much on it. There's no hope. There's just no hope in reconciling. So I guess those who will die will. Maybe it is a herd
approach, the herd immunity approach. Maybe that's what the government's adopting.
I don't think it's
saying
possible anymore. It was possible maybe in the first wave before it mutated, but now that it's mutating all over the place, we're trying to catch up. It's like your flu shot for this year is based on flu data from a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's your best guess. Science is pretty good at best guesses, but
Well, and they're trying. They're not doing it with any
malicious intent.
Yeah, they're not doing it for that reason. This is their job, number one, to protect society, not destroy it. Over already?
Well, COVID is just one of those conspiracies. The moon landing is another conspiracy.
We're going to have to talk about that.
Our next podcast can be the things that we've covered with conspiracy theories.
I like that.
The Jim and Terry Show signing off our 500 podcast series. Bye-bye.